Hi guys, welcome back to Python versus YouTube channel where curiosity meets the code. Today we'll be discussing about how to create a quote of the day application with Tkinter. But before that, we'll be checking the packages pre-installed in my system. So the first command that I'm going to execute in command prompt is pip list, where you can see all the packages with the versions so I can give a look about what package is what version and update it accordingly. So you can take a look onto your packages. If not installed, please do install it. You can just Google how to install and there will be a command for that to execute in command prompt. Another command to check for all these is pip freeze, which gives a similar output where packages with the version will be mentioned. So let's get started with the code to how to perform code of the day. So firstly, you can see the libraries that are imported, which includes Tkinter for the GUI interface and also request for making HTTP requests to fetch codes from an API and the date and time for working with dates and time. Going on to the main part of the program. So you can see the main class, which is code of the day class, under which there are a few of the functions. Let's go one by one, which includes the definition init and also that's for fetching the code. The init is for the main window display and we have one to fetch the code and we have another function to display the code and later to execute the program we have another few codes. So let's go in depth what each function we're going to perform. So for the first one, for definition init, we have first created a Tkinter window with the heading as code of the day, and we define a function called init, and we give a Tkinter main window with the title code of the day. And coming down, we create a label called quote label to display the fetched quote sets the wrap length to 300 maximum width before wrapping the text and justify to center. That means we are aligning the text to the center and then packs the label into the window with some vertical padding. And then coming down, we have button called fetch code. So when clicked, it triggers to send a HTTP request and fetch the code from the API. This button is also included with the vertical padding. And coming down, we have a fetch self.fetch code. It calls the fetch code method when the application starts to fetch and display a code automatically. Now let's move on to the next function, which is fetch code. Now what happens in this function? So here, first of all, it defines the fetch code method to make an HTTP get request to an API. So the API that I've given is from a quotable.io random. So randomly it fetches a code from this API. It successfully extracts the code and content and author from the response and it calls the display code method to display the fetched code in the GUI, handles the exception and prints an error message if fetching of the code fails. So basically this is sending a request, fetching the code and the author's name and calling the function of display code to display. And if there is any error in this process, there is an error message printed. So let's move on to the next function, which is the display code function. So what happens here? The fetched code from the method fetch code is displayed User string formatting to include the quote in double quotes and add the author's name below it. Moving on to the next, we have the main function defined to create a Tkinter root window, initiates the quote of the day app class and starts the Tkinter event. And the last few sentences is to execute the script. So let's see the output of the program. So I'm usually going to copy the name of the .py file, open command prompt, and Python space file name .py. And as you can see, there is the window, taking the window appeared with the title given, with the quote inside, with the author's name. And if we press on fetch quotes, again there is a refresh of another quote which has been fetched and with the author's name. And similarly, it keeps fetching the quotes from the API. Thank you so much for watching. If you have learned something from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.